Coming up on ParaTruth Reborn, I'm going to be talking to Mama Rose about her book, Fearless, 27 Affirmations to Change Your Life.
Welcome to ParaTruth.
How's it going, ParaTruthers? Welcome to another episode of ParaTruth Reborn. My name is Justin, and I am super excited to welcome Mama Rose to the show. Mama Rose, welcome to ParaTruth Reborn.
Hi, Justin. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. So before we get into the meat of the book, what inspired you to write Fearless?
Well, first of all, just that I had something to say. And I think that's a really powerful energy to exist in for any period of time. And for me, I felt like I had something to say for a really long time before I was actually able to figure out how to express that in a way that could be delivered to other people.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when did you first realize the power of affirmation in your life? Because a lot of people go through this, but they don't usually grasp affirmations. So I'm kind of curious when you got started with this.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, it was after my second year of college, so I was pretty young, when I realized that the way that I was talking to myself was impacting me, both positively and negatively. And I had never heard the term affirmation before. I hadn't heard the term mindfulness. I hadn't heard anything really about how we talk to ourselves, even after going through years and years of therapy with all different therapists. I had never heard about this. But I just realized, like, there's this voice that's talking to me when no one else is talking to me, and it's me, right? It's just me saying, this is how the world works. This is what God is. This is what is true or isn't true. This is who I am. This is what I believe about myself and how things work, right?
Mhm.
And so at some point, I remember getting the idea that I really wanted to learn how to love myself. Like, that was like kind of a life-changing concept for me, this like idea of self-love, that was even something that I needed to really think about. And so I wrote on my mirror in a what do you call it, like a whiteboard marker,
Mm.
I love myself. And I was like, this is great. This is gonna work. This is gonna be great. Every time I see this, it's just gonna, like, make me love myself.
Okay.
And what happened instead was every single time I saw that phrase, I was met with everything that wanted to fight it. So it was like all the reasons why I shouldn't love myself, the reasons why I'm not worthy of loving myself, the things that I didn't like about myself, like everything came up to meet that. And that was when I really understood, or began to understand, what affirmations really are, how they work and how they don't work, and how focusing really intentionally on not only what I'm saying to myself, but how I hold myself as I'm speaking to myself became a really big, powerful part of my journey.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now, a lot of people will just sit there and say, this is just positive thinking.
Mhm.
What's the difference between positive thinking versus affirmations?
Well, so language is limiting, right? And so if someone says positive thinking, I would ask, like, what does that mean to you? And I would assume probably that what they mean is that they're just going to say things that have no emotional weight. Like, I'm going to win $1 million. I'm going to win $1 million. I'm going to win $1 million. Okay, why didn't it work? Why didn't I win $1 million? Well, while you were saying that to yourself, what were you feeling? This book talks about the relationship between thought and emotion. And that's the difference between just saying something positive to yourself or positive thinking and actually doing the work. because when we can learn how to uncouple thought and emotion, or actually see like, where is my thought connected to emotion? Where is my emotion connected to thought? And then have some framework of understanding for how those things are actually attached to each other. That's where we can get in there in that in between space, and we can actually start to decide on purpose what feeling state we want to attract thoughts to. So it's not about positive thinking, it's about positive feeling. But positive feeling isn't just feeling happy all the time. Positive feeling is feeling everything. It's about feeling everything. And the most positive feeling that we have is love, right? I think most people would agree that if you could think of like what the highest frequency is, it's love, it's self acceptance, it's presence, right? These things are synonyms. And the most loving thing that we can do, the highest frequency state that we can cultivate within ourselves, is the acceptance of feeling everything that is actually there to feel. So instead of just positive thinking, it's noticing what thoughts come up, noticing what emotion is attached to that, and then actually allowing yourself to feel that fully. Feel it, express it in whatever way you need to, whether that's journaling it, moving it, sitting with it, talking about it, anything that allows that emotion to actually tell its whole story. And a lot of times they'll have to tell their story over and over and over and over again, right? Because
Mhm.
we go deep and we're complicated. But being with that process is really, really different than just positive thinking.
Okay. Now, the name of the book is Fearless.
Mhm.
Where do you feel fear comes from? Is it psychological? Is it spiritual? Is it both?
I think that everything that we experience is all. It's rooted in all of the different spaces. And for that reason, we can also work from any of those places to address something, which is really nice. Like you can work on something energetically or physically or spiritually or mentally, and you're going to work on it, which is great because we've got lots of different angles and options. And with fear, for me in my experience so far, I've really come to learn that fear has a place in my life as a messenger. And I thank it for that. And it's an important piece of my life as a messenger. But there's a part of me that exists beyond that fear. There's my soul, right? And we've got lots of different words for what that is. Everybody's got a different idea of kind of what's running the show here, what the higher power is. Is it nature? Is it God? Is it love? Is it energy? Is it whatever?
Right.
But ultimately, there's something we know that's bigger than just like our little ego or our personality, our character role, right? And fear is this thing that, in my experience, is pointing to something that's on the level of that ego, personality, character role that we came here to play. So it could be like a safety concern. It could be like showing me something that's really important to me. It could be showing me my beliefs, my morals, my values, something that's out of alignment for me in my life, that I like shouldn't run in the street because I could get hit by a car, like it's a very important messenger. And also being with it in a neutral way is really important so that we can let it do its job as a messenger and stop it from doing extra work and becoming anxiety.
I saw the title of the book and really thought about this, how the word fearless, a lot of people tend to think that that means you have no fear.
Mhm.
And there was a really good quote from, I don't even remember where I heard it, but being fearless isn't that you have no fear. It's that you are afraid of everything and
Mhm.
embrace it to overcome it.
I like that.
So just seeing the title of the book really made me think and want to read through some of these affirmations and understand where you would be coming from for it, because a lot of people, you see affirmations everywhere a lot these days, but a lot of people don't understand still what they really mean.
Right.
um, so I've love that it's embracing the fear, by using affirmations to get through it. Now, do you believe fear can be influenced by energy or environment or other, outside factors?
Um, Influenced by, maybe stimulated by?
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes more sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, and I on the last piece that you said too, I actually so this is a little bit of a funny thing that I work with an incredible publisher, which you know is Llewellyn.
Mm.
And for people who don't know, when you're working with a publisher that's like on the scale that I'm working with, they get to choose the title of the book. So it was really funny because I was like, oh, yeah, like here are all my great suggestions. It could be how to retrain your inner voice to become a positive creative ally and like all this stuff. And I'm like, what are they going to pick? Which one of my suggestions are they going to pick? And they come back and they're like, fearless. And I was like, what? Like, how? How am I? Did I write about that? And I reread what I wrote, like literally reread my book and was like, wow, I did. I did. And I added a section in the book at the beginning, which is it's in 3 sections. And the first section is a framework for understanding how to do the work of using affirmations. So in that section, there's now a piece which talks about the word fearless. And it mentions that our language has limitations. And unfortunately, in the English language, as far as I know, there isn't a word like fear past or fear beyond. Like there's no word that means that. And yet the word fearless, it denotes that and it evokes that. And so putting that on the cover of a book and putting that in a bookstore is going to pull the attention of someone who is energetically a match to this literature. And I think that it was just so brilliant of them to choose that name. I wouldn't have chosen it, but I love that they did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I I struggle with this a lot, and you may still as well, but I know a lot of people do. How can someone tell if the inner voice is intuition versus fear?
Practice. There's no shortcut to it. There really isn't. It's really just practice. And what it boils down to, in my experience, and I'll say that a lot because I really am speaking from my experience. And so for me, what I am learning is that the more that I get in touch with my heart, there's a frequency of my heart. And it's not just a frequency, it's like it's a whole symphony. It's not even a song. It's this whole symphony that is my name. It's my spiritual name. It's who I am as a person made out of all of these different multi-layered energetic patterns, right? This is my heart. It's in my heart. It's this code. The more that I get in touch with that, the more that I'm able to recognize what isn't that. And the more that I recognize what that is, what that sounds like, what that feels like, because that's how we hear our own heart name is by what we feel, right? So the more that I can get in touch with that, I know what feels like it's coming from that space. I know what feels like it's in alignment with that. I can actually hear my heart speaking and guiding me rather than being like, oh, I hear this voice, but I don't really know. Is that my heart's voice or not? No, I know my heart's voice. I know it because I've done the work and continue to do the work because it's never done of getting really in touch with what that voice sounds like. So, in my experience, that is the most protective thing we can do. That is the most, um, what's a word? Like concise thing that we can do, effective thing that we can do in order to go, I don't need to listen to that. I need to listen to this. I can stay on track because I know what I'm listening to, right? And not only that, but you're able, when you're tuned into your heart, you're able to tell what resonates with that and what doesn't. And I'm a musician. So when I say resonates, I really mean that. Like, I mean that if this is playing a tone, and something else is playing that same tone, it's in resonance, right? I can hear that rather than being like, that that person over there is playing the tone of F, but I don't even know what my tone is. So maybe I resonate with them and maybe I don't. Like I'm not sure, right? So it saves you a lot of just like side quests, I suppose, to be really tapped into what your heart feels like.
Now, I like that you bring up the musician thing and vibration because, you know, I used to play music when I was in school, middle school, high school, um, and I never really felt vibration or even anything really other than the music until I opened up myself up to mediumship. And
Mm.
then I started feeling it here, I started feeling it here, started feeling it in my heart, and I don't know why that is, other than I opened myself up.
Mhm.
I always had a love for music, but there wasn't that connection. So when I first opened myself up and started feeling the vibration in those areas for music, I found it fascinating. So that's why I love that you're a musician, an artist, a dancer, because I feel a lot of that creativity comes from mediumship as well.
Yeah. Yeah. In my experience, music is the most paranormal thing that we have,
Mm.
to be honest. Like, that transcends worlds like nothing else does. And I used to think it was a coincidence that I kept finding all of these extremely spiritual people who are also musicians. Like, I was meeting people because of music, and I'm like, whoa, like, she's also a medium. That's crazy. What are the chances that she's a musician and a medium? And now I'm like, okay, this is how it works.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like every medium's a musician and every musician's a medium, but there's
Right.
crossover for a reason.
Well, and I'm a fictional writer, so a lot of the stuff I write about, I feel I'm tapping into something that a
Mhm.
lot of people don't. Um,
Yeah.
so how long does it realistically take for affirmations to start working? Is it instantly? Is it, it takes a little bit of time?
Yeah. It's a beautiful question. And I think that we especially live in a situation right now where we want things to work quickly and by no fault of our own, like, we are uncomfortable. So we want things to work quickly, right? We want things to change. So the good news is immediately. The first time that you say an affirmation, it begins to work. But it only works if you allow yourself to be present with the emotions that come up when you say those words to yourself, because that's the actual work. So, the first time that you say something to yourself, you're gonna kinda know which emotions are gonna evoke some emotion for you and which ones aren't, right? Because I could say, like, I don't know, something that just doesn't matter to me really at all. Like, I have a nice refrigerator. Like, I don't care. That doesn't make me feel anything, you know? But if I said something like, "My friends think I'm really important," like, there's more emotion to things like that. There's always gonna be more emotion to relational things, first of all, so those are great ones to start with. And when I say that to myself, I can choose what am I gonna do? How am I gonna hold that container? How am I gonna hold that space for myself to feel? Maybe I'm, like, in my van and my 4 kids are all in back, each having their own individual crisis, and I don't have any space to, like, journal that out or, really take note of what's coming up for me, and the amount of presence that I can give myself is just, like, a little bit. Even that is so self-loving. I can't even quantify that. Even just the amount of presence that you actually realistically have in any moment is such a self-loving act. It changes you. It changes your life. It really does. And that's the part that changes your life, is how you're showing up to meet yourself when you're saying these things to yourself. How you're showing up to meet yourself when you're realizing what you've already been saying to yourself. Because those things have been affirmations too. It's just about what you've been affirming. And you start to notice what you've been affirming and go, oh, wow, like, I'm not always super nice to myself. Or I've maybe been saying some things that I used to believe that I needed to believe back there because those things were keeping me safe. Those were coping mechanisms or those were whatever. But now I don't necessarily know that I need that. So it starts to change your belief systems. And it starts to change not only the way that you show up for yourself, but the bar that you set for how the world shows up to you. So then you're not only changing your internal experience of the world, but you're also externally changing the world because you're showing up to the world differently. So it's really, really big work and it works really rapidly. And it also works really slowly. Like, this is something that is a lifelong job. We do this forever. We do this the whole time. And that's why I wrote a lifelong book. Like, this book is designed to be a companion that stays with you for the entirety of the time that you're doing this work.
Now, do you feel that this is one of the biggest mistakes people make when they're trying to change their mindset and use affirmations is choosing affirmations that um, don't have a reaction, emotional reaction for them, or what is, in your opinion, what is the biggest mistake people make?
I think that it's just bypassing emotion. So there's there's kind of like an unlearning that a lot of us are having to do at this time too, that have come through kind of the like world of manifestation or law of attraction, or like, if I just think nice thoughts, nice things are going to happen. And I'm pretty sure everyone who has tried that has realized that that doesn't work, like has had that absolutely shattered, which is great, 'cause it's just a part of the process, right? But the issue with that whole school of thought is that, first of all, there are forces that are at work in your life that are beyond your personality, that are beyond your character, that are beyond your ego. And I keep using those three words because they're synonyms for each other, and I want us to understand that. And the best thing that we can do is, again, learn what love feels like for us so that we're on board with the larger power of life that is living us, whatever you want to call that power. In my book, I just call it life. I call it life with the big L. And when we can get on board with that, it doesn't feel so scary to feel our feelings because we're not identified with our feelings anymore. We're identified with our soul or with our heart or with that life energy or with whatever is beyond, behind the character, actually mobilizing it with life force. So if you don't believe that you're going to be a different person every time that your emotions shift or every time that your thoughts shift, it's not so scary to let those things actually move and change. I think that a lot of us are stuck in a gridlock of thought and emotion where the thought just keeps cycling and the emotion just kind of stays the same. And it depletes the life force energy in people because we can see kids and how they've got endless, just boundless energy. And also, they feel things fully 100% all the way through. Whenever something happens, like if something happens and my 2-year-old is not about it, he will let you know. Everyone will know. Everyone in the neighborhood will know.
Yeah.
He's very loud. And then he's done. He's ready to do something else because he let that emotion flow through him freely. Now, for adults, of course, we don't have a social and cultural structure that allows for us to express that in quite the same way. But when we can learn how to at least be present and honest with what we're feeling, then the affirmations work. So I think the biggest mistake is just that we're still a little afraid of feeling. We're afraid of our feelings. We think that they're going to take us, they're not going to bring us back. We're not going to be able to handle it. So those are some of the beliefs that start to come up into your awareness when you do this work. It's not just all the things that are in the way of I'm going to get the house that I want. It's like, oh wow, this actually goes really, really deep. Like, I'm afraid of my feelings, or you start to realize these things about yourself, and then you have the opportunity to slowly, carefully, with care, shift those beliefs over time.
Now, we've talked about this a little bit about being a psychic medium. How does that ability influence your work with affirmations?
Being psychic or being a medium or being a shaman or being intuitive or a mystic or any of these words, an oracle, any of these words that mean more tapped in than the average person, the ability to experience what's going on behind what maybe we would call the veil, or like your five senses, your typical average day. All of those things require an ability to perceive what is happening on levels that are more subtle than most people are experiencing themselves, their lives, and the world around them. This work, working with affirmations and showing up with presence for whatever comes up in you, is teaching you how to attune yourself to the more subtle realms of reality. So it is actually the same work. And the word, the umbrella word that can encompass medium, oracle, mystic, all the things is human. And we are all that. So we all get to do this. We all get to be this. We all get to have this connection to the other side, whether you felt like you were born with it or not. I liken it to some people when they're 3 years old can play piano, and some people have to learn it for 20 years before they're able to achieve the same level of success. We've all got a different process with that, and we could make ideas about why that is. But ultimately, some of us come in and we're getting all this information from the other side just straight off the bat. Some of us have to attune ourselves to those more subtle realms of reality. And either path is really beneficial to the person. And either path is really perfect for that person. But I think that it benefits every single human being to attune themselves in that way to what is more subtle, because not only are you going to attune yourself to more information that comes from beyond you, you're also attuning yourself to the information that comes from within you. And you could call those one and the same, really. But you're giving yourself more to work with. And that's really, really beneficial.
Ha have you ever seen an affirmation, create, like, a dramatic or even unexpected shift in someone else's life or even in your life?
There have been times that I have, but it's kind of this like touch and go thing. Like what I've seen for the most part is like, whoa, this opens something up that's really big and scary for me. I'm gonna just like close that for now a little bit. And so the thing is, we have agency in this. Like they say once you see something, you can't unsee it, but, like, honestly, we kinda can. We're really good at tricking ourselves into believing that we did not just see that, and that does happen a lot in affirmation work. It's like you can just, like, rip open this old wound or this thing in your heart or this part of yourself and then go, "That's great. I actually don't have the capacity to fully dive into that right now or to fully experience that right now." And that's why I like keeping a journal, because sometimes we can forget the magnitude of something that we experienced if we don't write down what it actually felt like to experience it in that day. So that can be a really positive practice for this work too, is like you can have something just totally shatter you and write that down and then kind of like pick yourself up and put it back together and stuff and go through the next few days and be like, oh, that wasn't that big of a deal. Your journal says it was. So you probably want to go revisit that, right? And maybe you just need to cultivate the friendships, the therapist, the eating breakfast, you do the right things with your body for the day. Like you might need something different in order to be able to process what it is that came up for you. But ultimately, we really do have agency in deciding how we go about that. It's not the same as like a traumatic life event that would be something that feels like it's happening to you or inflicted upon you. It's much more, like I said, like we're tapping into what is subtle. We're tuning into what's already there. It's already there. It's not something new. None of this is going to bring up something that wasn't there before. So it's really just like stripping back the layers, and we get to decide how much do we want to do that in this moment, in this moment, in this day. So that's my experience with it personally, and I'm sure other readers have more to say on that too.
Do affirmations have an energetic or vibration component to it?
The words themselves,
Or just, the belief in them,
mm,
in the affirmations?
there's layers to that because there are the words themselves, which carry their own energy from the lineage of the language, which is going to be different for our language compared to other languages. And then there's also the person that offered the affirmation and the energy that they're offering with it. There's your filter and how much of that you're willing to take in on subtle levels. Are you willing to actually take the affirmation as I'm giving it, or are you kind of stripping some of that back? And then there's your own relationship with the words, the phrase, or the statement, and whatever that stimulates in this person versus that person is going to be different. So each person receives each affirmation really differently, and certain things can be really helpful or really stimulating for certain people or do nothing for other people. It just kind of depends. But it's also the reason that I wrote Fearless the way that I did, which is that the chapter heading is the affirmation. And then the chapter that follows is the esoteric, spiritual, mental health, emotional health, like mind, body, spirit kind of information, context that allows that phrase to mean something for you.
Now,
Mhm.
does meditation help with affirmations? It's something I've actually never asked anybody before.
Mhm. Yeah, well, and so there are different types of meditation. And again, I would just like discern which type of meditation we're talking about because using affirmations is meditation. Whenever you meet yourself with presence, you're in a state of meditation. But like if you're talking about a specific type of brain waves or like the type of meditation where you lay down and you're quiet for a period of time, that is different. With affirmations, what is a given is that there's a certain amount of mindfulness meditation. There's a level of heart coherence that we're cultivating when we do this work. And outside of that, I would say yes, absolutely. Giving yourself time to be still, giving yourself time to attune to stillness, to music, to nature, to the pressure of your feet on the ground as you're walking, to the movement in your body when you're dancing, to the way that the water feels on your skin when you're bathing, any of these things that we might consider to be other forms of meditation, those are all also attuning you to what is happening on more subtle levels within you. So that's going to further the work of working with the affirmations.
We've brought up creativity a little bit here now. Can creativity amplify affirmations, music, writing, art?
Absolutely. It's crucial. My favorite affirmation in the entire book is I am creative. And it talks about viewing the world through the lens of the artist and how being an artist isn't about what you produce and whether or not you think it's art or someone else thinks it's art. It's just about the way that you see the world. So, one of the main efforts of this book is to retrain the mind of the reader to believe that they are a creative person because we are. We're creating all the time. I created this cup of tea before I sat down to do this interview. And now I'm creating the experience of drinking it and talking to you, So what's to say that the creativity that goes into building my day is more or less artistic than the music video that I just made? So I think that when we remember that we're creative, then we get to participate in a way that is more lighthearted, that's more fun, that's more playful, which all of those things are high spiritual, energetic states. And when we're participating in our lives in that way, viewing ourselves as creative beings, we don't see limitations the same way. We see limitations more as the rules of the game that are kind of like keeping us on the board in a good way, right? Like if I'm playing Trouble, the little pieces and the like bopper thing in the middle. If I'm playing Trouble and I have my piece on like the chair, like I'm no longer playing the game, right? And that's not fun for me or for anybody that I'm supposed to be playing with. Like boundaries are great. Limitations can be great as long as we agree with the limitations that we're working within. And so when we remember ourselves as creative and we use tools, whether that be painting or um, drawing or dancing or music or whatever would be considered like art or something that we wouldn't even consider art. Any of those things can be done with the energy of an artist, with the energy of a creative person, a creator. And that puts us in the flow state, which means that we're working with the larger aspect of creator that is actually creating us by living us. So I talk about in my book how life is the energy that lives us. Life is mobilizing us. Life is what makes it so that instead of having to come up with the energy to place my foot here and then here and then here, I'm just being pushed, or I'm being pulled, even better, pulled into my future, right? I can connect with the vision of my future self and just ask her to pull me forward into that vision. So when we remember ourselves as creative beings, we can tap into these states of energy that make life a lot easier because we're finding the energy to do our day or to do our purpose or to do our lives from a different source. And it's a source that has a lot more energy than just our little selves. So, yes, absolutely. Viewing yourself as a creative and doing creative things is going to help you with these affirmations. And it's a part of the work. It's a part of what's built into the book and how you're retraining your inner voice.
No, uh, a lot of people, including myself, again, have a hard time with stillness or being silent, or even just being in silence. What role does that have in reconnecting with yourself? Because I mean, there are times that it does help me, but the majority of the time, I cannot be in silence or stillness.
Sure. Well, I'll give you kind of an esoteric answer to that, which is that you're actually in stillness all the time anyway. And whether or not you're aware of that is the real question. Because there are layers and levels to how you're existing in any moment that you're existing. And there's what's going on around us, there's the car driving by, there's the bird flying by, there's whatever's demanding your attention on this level. And then under that, there's stillness. And the goal is to create the ability to focus dually on both at the same time. So to have this anchor in stillness and be able to fully participate in the world at the same time. So it's kind of living in this behind the veil space and also participating in everything that's on this 3D side of the veil as well. When we're uncomfortable with stillness, I don't even start with sit down and be quiet for 10 minutes a day. It's more like, can you drop into the part of yourself that is still already? What's not moving when everything else is? And sometimes even just that prompt is enough to start to open up a new space of possibility in the mind for how to access stillness. It's really powerful the way that we can open doors with words, because the words that I'm sharing with you around that, they're not just words. They're me sharing some piece of my energetic experience with you as well, which is like a little key that can unlock something and add like a dimension of world to your experience.
Now, a lot of people would feel this a lot of times, and or just in parts of their lives where they feel like they're stuck in fear. What would you say to somebody who's feeling that?
That's a obviously, I mean, just you know this because of the title, but that is a really big part of what this book works on. And when we're stuck in fear, we have two things going on. We have pattern thinking. And this is like beyond, we're not even talking about the nervous system right here. It's just these two pieces. So we have pattern thinking and we have an emotion that those thoughts are attached to. And so the first thing that you need to do is when a fear-based thought comes into your mind, if that's what you're noticing first, if you notice the thought, oh, there's that thought again. I'm afraid that I won't be able to pay my rent because my mind just thought, what if I can't pay my rent? Like maybe that's the thought that you notice. Then what I'll ask you to do is to notice the sensation in your body, in your physical body. What does your physical body feel like when that thought comes up? And sometimes we've been absent from the body in a present way for so long that we're like, nothing, I don't feel anything. And that might be true in that moment that you don't feel anything, but it's because you're not aware of what's actually already there. And the more that you notice the thought and then you drop into the body, what does my body feel like? Oh, now I actually notice this one little thing. Oh, now I notice these two things. Oh, now I notice that this one little sensation is actually like a tightness in my whole chest. Oh, now I notice that, so that the noticing expands as we're present with ourselves by asking the question. So if you notice the thought first, you ask the body. Now, if you notice the body first, you ask the thought. So let's flip it around. For example, let's say that I just noticed that I'm feeling really tight and I'm feeling really scared. I'm feeling really panicky or really anxious and I don't know why. Well, then we go to the thought and we ask, what am I thinking right now? What did I just think? Can I follow my train of thought back to see what I thought right before that sensation began? Or if it's something that's been lasting longer than that, maybe a period of days, is there something that I have been that's been on my mind? Or how am I talking to myself about the things that are present in my life right now, in my experience, in my circumstances? There are also ways that we can cut that. So let's say, for example, you're like, I don't even know the last time that I felt relaxed or at ease. Like this anxiety has been present for so long that I can't even trace it. I can't even find a single thought that it's attached to. It's just all my thoughts. It's just there all the time. And then there are ways that we can go into the body and work on the level of the body to retrain the body into feeling safe. So, like I said at the beginning, we've got all these different angles that we can work from to address the same root issues. And you can work from the physical, you can work from the mental, the emotional, the energetic, the spiritual. So we've got a lot of options there. But that's just if you want to work from the mental first or the emotional first. And when I say the emotional first, I'm talking about how that emotion feels in your body, because that's our way to actually access the emotion, because our body is an emotional instrument.
Now, I would love it, and you can absolutely say no, but I would love it if you would share an affirmation that someone can use today to start shifting their mindset.
Yeah, sure. Let's see what comes to mind. Hmm. Oh, here's one that's gonna be really fun. This is one that I use all the time, and I have such a different day-to-day relationship with it. I think it's a good one. I love to use the affirmation, "There is enough time." It's very challenging, it's very stimulating, it's very, like, oftentimes I'm like, "That's just absolutely not true." Like, that's the first thing that will come up for me. But it has been incredible in my life to see how that affirmation works as information, because I'm noticing that what it does is it will downregulate my nervous system, and everything starts to flow differently when my body is at a state of calm. So, like, for example, I'm trying to get out the door in the morning. I have 4 kids. Nobody has their shoes on. We were supposed to leave 6 minutes ago. I could approach that from like, "You guys get your shoes on. We don't have enough time. We're all gonna be late for school. We're always late for school." That's an option, right? That's an option that I definitely choose sometimes. And then there's this other option, which is, okay, there is enough time. There's enough time. Maybe that doesn't mean that we're gonna get to school on time. Maybe that doesn't mean that anybody's gonna listen to me. Maybe there's no expectation attached to me saying that affirmation, but it does something to my body. It makes my body feel calm. It makes my body able to handle the fact that 4 people are saying 4 different things to me at the same time. It makes it so that the flow of the day somehow still works even if we are a little bit late. It makes being a little bit late not as big of a deal. It changes things because it changes my perspective in how I'm coming into the situation. So, I've had experiences where it just does that. It just regulates me, makes everything flow better. And then I've also had experiences that are like really time warpy, bendy things where I'm like, that doesn't actually make sense. That there all of a sudden, there literally is enough time. And like, I don't understand how that worked. So all of these affirmations, I will say, they work with the mind. They work with the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the emotions, the body, but they also work beyond all of that in a way that I don't even understand. And I am so curious about it. And that's one of the reasons that I keep coming back to writing about affirmations and using them in my own life.
Well, and that's the one thing I really loved about the book was you had affirmations for so many different aspects of someone's life. Now, and I honestly don't understand affirmations enough to say yes or no on this, but like, should someone be going through like one of these affirmations a day, finding just what applies to their life at the time? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of a choose your own adventure. And ideally, the one thing that I would say is consider this book to be a lifelong companion. And with that, you can read it straight through in a weekend and then read it straight through again the next weekend. That's cool. And maybe you'll get a little bit of something different both times, and you will, because actually, each time that you come to these affirmations, you're bringing a new version of yourself. So you're going to be able to download and pick up and pull out different things than you were the time before that. And it's like an infinitely layered cake. Like the first time that you eat the cake, you might only taste the top layer and you're like, ooh, that was good. That was strawberry. And then the second time, you're like, whoa, look at that. Who knew that there was actually vanilla under there too? And then the next time you're like, and there's frosting. Like, what? This is crazy. And it just keeps going because you're bringing a level of yourself to the book that is more attuned to the subtle. So you're able to pick up on more of what's actually there. So each time you meet the words, you meet more of what's actually there. So you'll use this as a lifelong companion because you will keep coming back and picking up new things. I have friends who read one affirmation every other day. That's been one that I've liked, like the pattern of having a day to read, a day to integrate, a day to read, a day to integrate. I have another friend who uses these affirmations along with her daily devotional practice that she does in her, um, like with her religious group. There are other people who are using this book as a read in their book club and coming together to talk about it so that they have a way to process the affirmations and do the integration together as a group. I know other people who have just read it at their leisure, straight through. I myself have read it over and over and over and over and over again as I've been writing it, editing it, and then reading it and going, I don't understand how I wrote the thing that I need to read. Like, I clearly wrote this for myself and also everybody else. So I think there are really infinite ways that you can pick it up and work with it. And I love to open books, just go like, give me something and open to a random page and just see what's there too. So you can use it like an oracle card deck. You can just pick one affirmation and it's really fun. It's a really fun tool.
Well, I love that you say that through writing it and editing it, you read through it and you wrote it for yourself. Something that was told to me years ago is that as a writer, write for yourself first
Mhm.
and then write for your readers.
Yeah.
And I feel that can be one and the same as you're already saying now. So because you are your own reader as
Yeah.
a, yeah.
Exactly. Mhm.
Now, what is one thing that you hope people take away from this book?
I hope that people take away the permission to create something when you're not finished with your process yet. To not be afraid to be messy or to still be in the middle of it before you share it. Because I could have waited until I was on my deathbed to put this book out so that I could make it done, so that it was everything that I've learned in my life. And that's not what I chose because I know that there are people that are ready to read what I've learned so far right now. And there are people that are ready to listen to what you've learned so far right now. And your stories are really valuable, not only because you're literally the only person who has experienced life from your perspective, which makes you inherently valuable and makes your stories absolute gold, but also because the fact that they're not finished allows other people to become collaborators in that story with you. Whether or not you even realize that there are webs of energy that are far more complicated than anything that we understand. And when we offer parts of ourselves to other people through our creations, we're inviting other people to become a part of our creations. And I think that is so beautiful. And I think that's what we're here for. And I think that's what makes us feel fulfilled. And I think that is the salve to so much of the drain and the fatigue and the lifelessness that a lot of us experience as adults as we're just meeting the expectations and the demands of our life. When we connect with other people and we share what we have to give, our stories, in whatever way we have to share them, we're doing something that feels important and it feels purposeful because we can feel the power in the connection that it creates. So I want you to take away from this interview, at least, even if you never pick up the book, but also from the book, that you have something worthwhile to share. And there's really no point in waiting to share it. You can polish it and take as long as you want. That's fine. But like, please do share it.
All right. Well, it is about time to let you go. So I wanted to give you the chance to tell everybody where they can find you, find your work.
Yeah.
The mic's all yours.
Yeah, you can find my music, you can find my writing, you can find my modeling, you can find everything that I do on the internet. You can look up mamarose.blog, or you can find me on all social media at Dear Mama Rose. Instagram is my main platform there. And you can also find my music streaming on all platforms as Mama Rose, and I recommend starting with the album Between.
Awesome. Now, just as a caveat to that, your music, does it have to do with like affirmations, mediumship, stuff like that, or is it just more of an expression of yourself?
It's both. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the album Between, it almost does the same work that this book does, but in a musical form, and not in a way where it's just like, "I love myself, and here's what that actually means." Da, 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 da." It's like, if you were to listen to music that spoke to you the way that the cleanest, healthiest version of your inner voice would speak to you, that's what you're gonna be hearing. And then I also went through the process of learning how to produce my music in such a way that it uses the patterns of sound in nature to downregulate the nervous system so that you're in a receptive state.
Awesome.
Mhm.
All right, Mama Rose, thank you so much for being on ParaTruth Reborn.
Thank you so much, Justin. Thank you to everyone listening.
All right, folks. That is it for us this week, Paratruthers. We love you guys. Until next week, folks, where you will find us same time, same channel. My name is Justin. Talk to you guys later.